Hi everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at a new device from Llano. It's a two-in-one power bank and battery charger built into a single device. Specifically, we'll be looking at one design for the Canon LP-E17 camera batteries, which works in Canon R8, R50, R100, and multiple other cameras. And the device is available for multiple other cameras and brands such as the Canon R5, R6, Nikon, and Sony cameras. All right, let's do a quick overview of the device itself. So what you get in the box is the charger itself, USB-C to USB-C cable, the manual, and a little carry pouch here. And then to give you some reference for size, this is my Samsung Galaxy S22 phone. As you can see in two dimensions, it's roughly about the same size. However, when we look at it from the top here, you can see it is considerably thicker than my Samsung phone. And compared to my Canon R8, you can see it's roughly about the same width and thickness, including the grip. And then here's the overall length of the device itself. Now, my unit came with some Llano branded LP-E7 compatible batteries, and you just insert them here into the top. So there's a little push button here for the locking cover, and then you drop the batteries in this way. And if you try to put the batteries in the wrong way, say let's say I put this one in the wrong way, the lid will not close, so you'll know right away that you need to drop the batteries in the other way. Because these are square, that's a little more critical, like that. And then when you drop the batteries in, immediately you get a readout of the battery condition. So the one on the left is 4 bars, nearly full. The one on the right is just 1 bar out of 4, so it's probably roughly at about 20-25%. And if I want to start to charge the batteries, I just click on the Q button here, and you can see that battery charger 1 is charging, and now battery 2 is charging. And the percentage number here in the middle just represents the percentage of the built-in internal battery of the device. All right, now coming over to the side here, we have two USB-C ports. Around the back, it's just a clean face here, clean here, and then on the bottom, we have all the individual specifications, which I'll be testing to verify that these numbers are reasonably accurate. Now, the basic specifications for this is that it'll charge two LP-E17 batteries in about 2 hours. The power bank function has a 12,400 milliamp battery internal built in, which is distributed through the USB-C ports here. And these ports are PD 20 watt compatible, so you can rapid charge devices like your iPhone, your iPad, laptops, etc., even power some cameras. And I'll get into some of the specifics of that in a minute. All right, I just need to clarify a few things. When you plug a device into the USB-C ports here for charging, say something like your cell phone, it's going to draw exclusively on the power bank's internal battery and not on your camera battery. So when you're charging your cell phone, it's not going to drain your camera batteries. It's only going to drain on the main battery in the power bank. Now, the USB-C ports are two-way PD 20 watt compatible, so you can plug in a PD power supply to charge the internal battery. But when you're charging the internal battery, it will also charge the camera batteries at the same time, albeit at a little slower rate. So it's going to take, maybe twice as long to charge both the internal battery of the power bank and your camera batteries. But it is a lot more convenient that you don't have to charge this all the way up first before you charge your camera batteries. So what I like to do the night before I go on a shoot is I'll just drop two batteries in here for charging, and then I'll plug this into a power supply. And then in the morning, I'll have a fully charged power bank as well as two fully charged batteries ready to go, and I can take with me in just this nice little convenient package. All right, so I just wanted to confirm that this is a PD 20 watt compatible device, and I'll know when I plug in my phone, and I can look at the charging output here. So the phone says that it is fast charging, so this is PD compatible, and right now it's drawing 15.25 watts to charge the phone. So everything looks good here. All right, now I'm going to do the reverse, and I'm going to use this power bank to charge the Llano power bank. And as you can see that the devices are connected in the PD 20 watt compatible mode. I'm reading 19.9 watts here, and on the Llano charger, looking at the indicators, you can see that both batteries are charging now via the blinking bars here. And then also the percentage rating here for the internal battery of the Llano is blinking at 94%. So everything looks good here, going in and out. All right, so I need to do a little more clarification here. So although each of these ports are PD 20 watt compatible, they can only drive up to 15 watts, either individually or in combination. So if I hook up one device, the maximum output is going to be 15 watts, as you saw with the cell phone. And if I plug in two devices, the maximum output is still going to be 15 watts. So one device might go to 10 watts and the other device will be at 5 watts. All right, so far the USB-C ports on the side do match the rated specifications that they've printed here on the bottom. So the next thing I'm going to check for is the rated capacity of the internal battery for the power bank portion. And they're stating here 3.6 volts, 12,400 milliamp hours, or 44.64 watt hours. So the important number here is the 44.6 watt hours. That's how you really want to compare the rated capacity of batteries when we're talking about power banks and power supplies. The 3.64 12,400 milliamp hours is a little deceiving because so many batteries are rated in milliamp hours, but if you don't know the voltage, then the milliamp hours don't mean anything. So that's why you always want to go by the watt hours when you're talking about the rated capacity. So let's see if that's the case. All right, so the first thing I did was drain the internal power bank down to 0%. Then I plugged it into my power supply here, and you can see the initial charge started at 18.6 watts. And then after 3 hours, 12 minutes, and 55 seconds, the power bank stopped charging, and we ended up with a 46.25 watt hours to fully charge the internal battery of the Llano power bank, which pretty much matches the specification on the back of 44 watt hours. It looks like the internal battery is on point in terms of the specifications. And if you look below that, you'll see it says 5,210 milliamp hours. And this goes back to what I was saying, is you really can't use milliamp hours to compare battery capacities because this is at 9 volts, give or take. So you have to always look at the watt hours when you're comparing battery capacities. All right, now let's talk about the battery charging times. Now they claim 2 hours to fully charge two LP-E17 batteries from 0 to 100%, and I actually had a much faster charging time. I was able to charge two dead LP-E17 batteries from 0 to 100% in 1 hour and 13 minutes. So the next logical question is, how many times can you charge two LP-E17 batteries just using the power bank's internal battery? Well, the answer is I was able to do it 2.5 times. So roughly I got 4 fully charged batteries plus one more at about 50%. Now you have to keep in mind that these are relatively small batteries, say compared to batteries you might find in a Sony a7R5 or a Canon R5. So if you were to get one of these Llano chargers that work with those kind of batteries, I would anticipate you'd only be able to recharge 2 batteries in one of these instead of 4. All right, the next thing I want to talk about are these Llano branded batteries, which are basically generic LP-E17 compatible batteries for the Canon R8, etc. I was surprised to find that the actual runtime of these batteries was identical to the Canon OEM battery, and this is basically a brand new Canon original battery. What I did was I recorded a 4K video, and I just let the camera run until it stopped. And both of them stopped at almost exactly 1 hour recording a 4K video. So, and I did that a few times, and every time it stopped right at about between 57 minutes and 1 hour and 1 minute, somewhere in there. So these are pretty much the same in terms of capacity. All right, now I want to talk about generic batteries in general, regardless of what name here is on the front, especially with our more recent digital cameras. Batteries now come coded so that when you put them into the camera will know whether or not you've put in an original battery or a generic battery. And you may get a message, like on my Sony camera, I'll get a message that says, you know, you've inserted a generic battery and we can't guarantee performance. Do you want to continue? And I just click OK, and I say, and the camera operates fine. For some, that could be a serious workflow issue. For me, it's not a big deal. On my Canon camera, I don't get that warning. But what happens is the coding and the programming in these OEM batteries tell the camera how much battery life is left, what the battery temperature is, and maybe some other things. But when you put generic batteries into, say, my Canon R8 and other modern digital cameras, the camera battery bar on your camera is always going to read full. It's not going to be able to tell when the battery is starting to drain. So when you get down to 50% or 25%, the meter on the camera will still show 4 bars or whatever. It'll still show as a full battery. And you won't know the battery is dead until your camera just shuts off at some inopportune time. So you could be out shooting for a couple hours, and then you take your last couple of shots and the camera just shuts off. And it's not going to save those last few images to your camera. And that's fine if you happen to be shooting when the battery dies. A lot of times you're not shooting and you turn the camera on and it won't turn on. and that's how you know when the battery's dead. But this is a more serious issue for video, because you could be recording video. If while you're recording video, the battery dies, it's not going to have time to save the video that you just recorded to the memory card. Or worse yet, whether it's photo or video, it may corrupt the memory card. So when you're using generic batteries, be very conscious of that. Maybe use them for an hour or two and then stop, and then swap it out before it actually dies on you. So just a little tip when you're using generic batteries. All right, now let's talk about if there's any catches to using this third-party power bank, battery charger, like there are when you're using generic batteries. And the short answer is no. I've been using generic chargers and power banks for over 10 years now, and I've never run into any issues. Even with the more modern PD compatible type devices, these power banks work perfectly fine. The only thing you have to be kind of careful of is whether or not your camera has a certain power spec that it requires. So on my Sony A7R5 and my OM System OM3, I was able to charge the camera battery and run the camera at the same time using this power bank. On a Canon R50 or Canon R100, should be no problem as well. However, on the full-frame Canon R cameras like the Canon R8 that I have and the Canon R5, etc., this does not have a high enough spec. It's only rated for PD 20 watt, and the Canon full-frame cameras need, I believe, at least 22.5 watt PD devices, if not higher. So when I plug this into my Canon R8 and the camera's turned off, it will charge the battery in camera. However, it will not run the camera. So when I turn the camera on with this plugged in, this device turns off and the camera just operates on the battery alone. And this is not charging the battery or running the camera at all. On my OM System OM3 or my Sony A7R5 even, when I plug this in, it does run the camera and charge the battery at the same time, no problem. And I got about almost 4 hours of runtime on my OM3 when I was recording a 4K video, just to give you some perspective of the capacity of this battery. So here are my final thoughts on the Llano battery charger and power bank all in one. And I think it's really the perfect travel companion, because if you charge this the night before so that your power bank battery is fully charged and the two batteries in here are fully charged, and then you have a fully charged battery in your camera, while you're out shooting for a couple hours, your battery dies in your camera, you swap it out, you put the dead battery in here, and then while you're shooting for another couple hours, this battery will be fully charged again, you'll have another fully charged battery, and you just keep doing that all day long. And like I said, you could run 4 dead batteries through this, no problem, on a single charge in the power bank. If you don't need to run through 4 batteries, you can charge your cell phone or other device, and on most cameras, you'll be able to run the camera and charge the battery at the same time, just using one of the USB-C ports. So it's really, really handy, and it can really improve your workflow, and you have less things to remember to bring. All you have to do is bring this with 2 batteries in it. Now you have the option to buy this device with or without these spare batteries, and I think if you're doing primarily photography, I say just go ahead and pick up a couple of spares. They're great backups. I wouldn't rely on them for, say, video work. So if you're doing primarily video, I would just buy the charger itself without these batteries and always use OEM batteries because of the problems that I talked about earlier. So full disclosure, I'd like to thank Llano for sending this out to me to review. As always, I try to give you my honest and fair opinion, but that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.